Hey, morning, Lagos. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the show. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Sometime in May 2019, President Muhammadu Buhari issued a 72-hour ultimatum to truck drivers that parked along Apapa Lagos Road to vacate. A presidential task force chaired by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, was then established to ensure the restoration of law and order to that part of the state. The federal government, we're told, had to extend that deadline by another 2 weeks to resolve the matter following a request for an extension by members of the task force and other stakeholders. Now, the whole essence of the vacation order and setting up of this task force was to clear the Apapa gridlock and help in restoring law and order in the Apapa area and its environs. You recall also that it was in May last year that the then incoming governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, had promised to clear the Apapa gridlock in 6 months of his administration. Did I say 6 months? 60 days of his administration. The big question will be just how did that fare? I'm joined now by the vice chairman of that particular presidential task force on restoration of law and order to Apapa himself, who is a former commissioner of transportation in Lagos State, Kayode Okpaifa. Good morning, sir, and thank you for finding time to come. You have now officially handed over control of traffic and movement of trucks to the Lagos State government. Is that accurate?
That's not correct.
All right,
I don't know the source of
I mean,
that
there are a
information.
lot of stories online that now that I have you in person, that we can begin to talk about it. The operation of this particular task force began sometime last year. Is it still ongoing, and how long is it
It's still
going to be?
ongoing.
How long is it supposed
Only
to
the presidency
hold?
can answer that.
Oh, beautiful. So the task force, according to
It's
you,
the tax team.
a task team rather. I've heard you say at different fora that this particular task team has fulfilled the mandate given to it by the president. The fact that all of the trucks parked on the roads have been cleared. Just exactly how did that fare?
Okay, thank you very much. You see, unlike previous tax forces in Apapa, this tax team has a clear mandate, and it came as a result of series of meetings at the presidency on how best to handle the issue. And it involves the stakeholders, a lot of them the presidency, the national government, the Lagos State government, the MPA, the Shippers Council, the truckers, and so many other interest groups that have written, like the Chamber of Commerce, Nasima Road, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry Road, Freight Forwarders Road. Everybody wrote their own position, and over a period of time, a series of meetings were held at the national level, and a decision was reached that a traffic management, logistics and supply chain approach be used to reduce the menace pending the implementation of the long-term solution. So under the presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, PEBEC, chaired by the Vice President, there was developed a short, medium, and long-term solution. And the short-term solution, the medium and the long-term solution requires a short-term solution that will bring sanity, that is a restoration of law and order. And part of those long-term solutions includes the rail coming from Ibadan right now to Apapa, that is the Lagos-Ibadan rail, which eventually will terminate at Kano, that is the Lagos-Kano rail, which spurs all along its routes. And then another one is the introduction of an electronic call-up system by the way, that's by the Ministry of Federal Ministry of Transportation, and that is ongoing. And as I speak to you, the construction has gone past Puris, where you call Egomu area is already entering Apapa, and in fact, the front gate of the Lily Pond, that is the truck transit park, is already, something's already going on there. Then the other one is electronic call-up system by the the Nigerian Ports Authority, which is also under, as we speak, is under procurement.
We're
The
going to talk
introduction of
about that in detail subsequently. Let's begin with the short term, which I believe
sorry,
would be
I think it will be
the operation.
I don't. I will tell you the fact. You won't understand what I want to explain in short term if you don't understand why the short term.
I get your point precisely, but I'm saying that I would love us to begin with exactly what the operation has been like since it began in May
I will
last
go
year.
again.
For instance, we heard that the president gave a 72-hour
Sorry.
ultimatum.
You will not understand if you don't understand.
I was about to ask a question. Maybe if you listen to my question,
Sorry,
you
if
better
you have allowed
understand
me
as
to
well.
finish my presentation.
Okay,
Maybe
please go
that
ahead.
would lead you to that question.
I'm all
Because
ears.
what I want to address is the short term, our responsibility, which
I'm all ears.
I may not be able to give you. Now, so those before those long-term solutions can come in, you need a short-term solution, which is the restoration of law and order. And they gave 6 terms of reference. And those terms of reference are remove those trucks, all stationary trucks, from the bridges and roads in Lagos. Introduce a traffic management direction. Introduce a traffic management plan for both wet and dry cargo. Pending the introduction of the long-term solution of the electronic call-up system, develop and implement a manual call-up system. Also, develop an empty container return handling policy for the port. So it is when you have done all this that you will restore law and order. So that is what we have done.
All right. So you're saying it's incorrect that tankers had returned parking on the roads in Apapa. Where do they park now?
Where they used to park before.
Where exactly was that?
That is their trailer parks.
Okay.
That is their tanker park, sorry. See, you see, when you pick statements from reported by another medium, we also first need to know, did that medium correctly reflect what the person said? Because you are picking this from what I think came out of an
that's
interview
exactly
with Nan.
why we have you here.
Yeah.
Because the essence of bringing you here is to better educate the people. The online medium or media that you're referring to are out there for the people. So there are opinions that have been made. So if I'm asking you opinions, then I expect that people will better understand
That's
what
what
your
I'm trying
position
to. Yeah, I know,
really
I
would be.
understand.
Exactly.
I'm addressing the public, not you.
All right, so
That
last year,
when you read things from a reported newspaper, sometimes may not be as presented to that online medium. What was said is this, that one, the question was, there are tankers all over Lagos Road. That was the question the reporter said. Where did you see tankers? The person could not ascertain. And I responded, look, our mandate is to get tankers and trailers. And people miss things. It was later the reporter, I get to understand, she was talking about trucks. They're calling them tankers. So now, you don't really have, you have tankers and trucks. So let's assume both. That's my mandate, not just tankers. Now, you have them as far as the Fadi on Lagos Road. You have them as far as the Oshodi Sele. You don't see them there anymore. Yeah. Now, where have they gone? They have gone because we introduced 2 principles. Lily Pond was asked to be released. That's a transit park. For you to manage, you need, what was missing was a call-up system. So everybody was rushing into Lagos because there was no call-up system. Now, with the introduction of Lily Pond, which now acts as a transit park, trucks are called into Lily Pond. From Lily Pond, they are called into the port. That is for dry cargo. That is for empty containers, flatbeds, and all those sorts. Now, for wet cargo, those are the tankers. They are to move from their tanker parks, which belongs to the depot owners. From there, they move and call into their depot. Until you add that Ijebu incidents, where tank farms were shut down, you don't see tankers on Lagos Road. That was sometimes around October, middle of October. Now, immediately that issue was resolved, the tank farms were reopened. We now went into the Christmas season. So the farthest you will see them now is at Alaka in the morning when they file in to go into their depot. Now, all the depot that are so appointed by NNPC were chosen to be the ones that have holding bays. I give you an example. Folawiyo is on Creek Road, under construction. Folawiyo has a holding bay of 80 tankers. And Folawiyo will load 120 tankers in a day. So all these tankers may come at the same time. So you will see them queue approaching Folawiyo. Within a period of 2-3 hours, you will not see them again because they have moved into their holding bay. Those are the traffic management system we introduced. Now, during Christmas, you see them. This morning, they still extended on Funshaw Williams up to Alaka. In the next, by now, I believe by now, you will not see them there. So they are in a file approaching their holding bay. So when I say you don't see tankers on Lagos Road, you don't see them on a stationary park. Now for the trucks, what we did, proud to our comment, they have identified 50, they call it nominated parks. So we certified only 33. Now there are about 48 of them cleared. Now when these trucks are coming from Ogere, Ikorodu, all parts of the country into Lagos or from different parts of Lagos, they first move to these nominated parks. These nominated parks have capacity to accommodate about 3,000 to 5,000 trucks. So that's where they have gone to. So we took them off the road, kept them in their nominated park, which they wouldn't have gone to because they have no hope of getting to the port. So everybody was struggling on the road because they pay demurrages on the container they are carrying. So when we push them into that nominated parks, MPA calls them from the nominated parks into Lily Pond and the Tinkan Island Transit Truck Parks. From the Lily Pond and the Tinkan Island Transit Core Parks, they are now called into the port. So that created a manual call-up system. So that gives them, because it's transparent, they agreed with all the stakeholders, sat down, the truckers, the unions, the drivers, they agreed they will move into those places and then file a call-up request to MPA. From there, the MPA process the call-up request, calls you into Lily Pond based on force call. Those who call them, and they move into Lily Pond. From Lily Pond, you now move into the port. In that way, you don't need to park on the road, approaching the port.
So listening to you now, does it mean it is inaccurate talks last year that most of these trucks ordered off the roads found their ways into residential areas like Ajegunle and the rest, making life difficult for residents?
So I just gave you the way how they move now. Now, it is not impossible for somebody who doesn't want to follow due process, who doesn't have a call-up, but is used to the old system, wants to hide. Maybe he doesn't want to pay what they will charge him in the system. For example, in Ajegunle, there is a road called, is it Wilma or so, where they used to pass trucks through and take money from them. We blocked the road completely. We even dug trenches. So you still see trucks making attempts to come through Ajegunle. So if you see any truck inside Ajegunle, it is the community that is encouraging trucks, not that trucks have come. You have a situation where you have community leaders who are used to the old system. They just can't give up. And young guys, I mean, the young people in the area making money out of all these things. But what we did was we dug trenches, cut off the road, and we instructed the DPOs in those areas to ensure that none of those trucks find their way into Apapa. So if you choose to take your truck through that route, you will get trapped there.
So, you know, with you, it's difficult to tell what you said or what you did not say. So I might have to do a lot of fact check since we have you here. And the essence of this conversation on this platform is to help people truly understand the works you've done and also fact check some of the knowledge that they have
and
about
we send
your
videos
operation.
to TVC and Co. on a daily
So
basis.
is it true that your team directed tankers not to come out before 10 a.m.?
Our team did not direct tankers. The stakeholders in the business concluded that they should not come before 10 a.m. And this is what happened. Prior to just getting close to Christmas, there was after that Ijegun issues, we felt all tankers must be serviced because that is the engine room of Nigeria's economy. And that in order to avert scarcity, there is always a push to load fuel out of the country, out of Lagos. Most often time, you expect fuel to be moved by the pipelines. Now it is good news that PPMC can now pump as far as, that is NNPC can now pump as far as the lorry through the system 2B. They can get to Emosimi, from Emosimi to Ibadan, from Ibadan to lorry. So but however, a lot of the loading still takes place in Lagos, Calabar, Port Harcourt, Ogara, and the rest, and on the eastern flank. So for those that are to load from Lagos, in order not to disturb the peace being enjoyed by residents who move rush hour Lagos is from 6 a.m. to like 9 or 10 a.m. We now say tankers. We have a system that will assure you that you will get to your tank farm within a period of 2 hours from the time you approach the tank farm, and then you can get out. So we now met with NNPC. There was a meeting in Abuja by PPMC, where you are president of NATO, PTD, NUPENG, and I was also present at the President tax team, where it was concluded that, okay, they want to load. Give us a program that will ensure that we load. And we now said, once you come in after, they are not restricted by time, by law. They can come and say, but we under this condition, where you have to struggle with residents, and residents are complaining that they have started seeing, no, they didn't see them before. They just suddenly coming towards November, December, residents have said no. They are now used to not seeing you. So don't let the public work against you. So we all agreed. It was an agreement at the meeting, and the PTT national leadership communicated the directive to the tankers. And for your information, majority of them are obeying. That's why you see less of them. But when you see them, like this morning now, they extended to Alaka as early as 8 a.m. because they are not allowed to come in. We have to open so that we reduce the pressure of Funshaw Williams. But the ideal thing is if they can abide by that principles, they will all get loaded, they will all get satisfied before 5 p.m.
In a short while, we're going to open the phone lines and help Lagosians who live in these areas also interact with us and give us on-the-ground analysis of what's actually transpiring there. But the big question, Mr. Kwefa, would be that as the Apapa gridlock been cleared, as we speak now.
Okay, thank you. I believe we have sent a lot of clips. I still sent some yesterday to TVC. There may be amateur videos, and there is also, I think these are things I think we should show to public so that they can see. Now, the issue in Apapa is not gridlock anymore. It's a restoration of law and order. Because we have passed the stage of gridlock. We have gotten to a stage of sustaining what is on ground. Like yesterday, there was a breakdown as early as 4 a.m. on the outbound lane. You wouldn't think it will affect the inbound. Believe me, it affected the inbound more than the outbound. And up till 10 p.m. yesterday, the backlog was still big. So you will see, occasionally you will see those kind of situations. When there is also pressure on the port, you will see pressure. But talking of gridlock, for me, and for the work we have done by the stakeholder, the gridlock is no longer the issue in Apapa. The issue now is how to sustain the occasional pressures. Like we saw yesterday, a truck broke down on the bridge, fell down. It took from 4 a.m., it was not removed until 1:45 p.m. That's almost 10 hours. And to remove that truck, they have to shut down the inbound route into Apapa, and the traffic, everybody, including cars and rest, had to stop coming into Apapa for that operation that took 2 hours. But the whole period took 10 hours before the operation could be carried out. So you have those kind of situations. You also have situations where the port is not working optimally. Maybe most of the operations on the port by the terminal operators are now computerized, mainly by AP Mola. That's the company that takes containers. The rest terminal operators like GDNL, EBTL, Ecosystem, ENL, they don't take much of containers. They handle manufacturing. Those ones don't have issues. But when AP Mola has issues with cyber issues, the port will not work, the terminal will not work optimally. Trucks that are going to that terminal will have to wait. But that shouldn't cause gridlock. So that's what I'm saying. The world is no longer gridlock. The world is now restoration of law and order. We have gone beyond the
What exactly is your team recommending to curtail what you mentioned now as breakdown on that particular road, which eventually leads to a slow in traffic? Let me quote Chairman Association of Maritime Owners, Remy Ogungbe, who mentioned that executive orders have not been sufficient in clearing that part of Lagos. According to him, these exercises witness momentary success and then gridlock returns. He is saying that bad roads continue to slow down traffic movement for trucks going in and out of the ports. what recommendations are on the line
Let me
now?
address the statement. Somebody told me he denied making that statement the way it was reported. So let me just put that in context. But if you take what he was trying to put you to explain, he's saying that there are issues of road. That's why I was explaining the long term. There are 4 roads that leads into that are connected. The Wharf Road is completed. Creek Road is under construction. Apapa Oshodi Express Road is under construction. Liverpool Road is under construction. The Minister for Works and Housing was on tour with all the media houses, and TVC was also present, and with Alhaji Aliko Dangote, whose Dangote Group is funding the project through a special arrangement, and they informed that all the roads will be concluded by 2020. As of today, approaching the port through Wharf Road is not a road issue. But approaching the port through Apapa Oshodi Express Road has a lot of road-related issues and is under construction. As we speak today, from Apapa Port Gate to Tinkan Port Gate, to Liverpool Bridge, which is about almost 2 kilometers, has been done. That is inbound Tinkan, outbound port, outbound wharf. That's on Creek Road. Now, from Coconut on Creek Road down to somewhere before you get to Mile 2, 9 meters out of the 12 meters has also been done. So the remaining 3 meters part of the road is that is outbound. Now, if you now move beyond that, you now get to Sele, Oshodi, Anthony, you will notice that are also construction. So that's part of the long-term solution I explained that. So all these are going on, and there is a time set of 2020 December. That is for the road construction. So that addresses road. He had always been raising the issue of electronic call-up system, and I also mentioned to you, these are long-term solutions that MPA has already put under procurement. So what is needed now is to restore law and order, so that the pressure on our port does not generate into gridlock that will be counterproductive. However, there are issues from the
Let me hold you for a minute, just a moment. We have a caller from London. Michael, right? Michael, please go ahead with your contribution. Good morning.
It's Michael, not Michael.
Michael, you're welcome. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Good morning, Nife.
Good morning, sir.
You see, what I just want you to know, your guest there is not is just telling a story of the 60s, how Lagos was in the 60s. I've been in this country for the past 20 years, and when I was in Lagos, the road constructed in the 60s is what is based his own opinion on up to now. I don't know, because most of these officials, they came down to study about logistics and other things there abroad. But when they come to Nigeria, only to, adopt a different approach in our ways of life, taking into cognizance that wharf is one, they are all based at Apapa. All traffic are all heading to Apapa. We knew that. If you come to London here, where I am, they have 3 tiers of road traffic. Underground, tunnel, overground, that's on the land, and overground traffic. All the trailers, they are on the ground. While all moving fast-moving cars are overhead or on the tunnel. I don't know why our officials, federal government and state cannot adopt this, but they continue, debating this very topic for how many times they have been on this now, wasting revenues, wasting people's life and other things. Mr. Opaifa, you knew you've been here and you have seen all matters of their, how the government here, how they run their work here. I don't know why you people cannot adopt this and construct 3 tiers of road in Nigeria, most especially at Apapa in Lagos there. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your contribution, Paiko, from the United Kingdom. Isn't this part of the long-term
Yeah,
that you
that's
have
why.
mentioned earlier?
That's why I'm very sorry. That's why I had to cut and make sure I make that point so that I know callers will call it. And if you are discussing short-term effect, you will look stupid. Seriously speaking, Mr. Paiko is talking to the issues, but he needs to understand that all these Lagos State government is already thinking of how to find a road from the marina end into Apapa. Currently, only 2 roads leads to Apapa, and I told you the wharf end that leads to Apapa is done. That is talking of the major road. Now the Ministry of Transport is reactivating the rail. 3 months ago, rail takes cargo to Apapa from Ebute Metta. But they are reactivating it to have a standard gauge so that they can move more, at least 200 to 500 or to 1,000 in a day. That is ongoing. And the set date is April 2020. That is by the Federal Ministry of Transport. Now the Federal Ministry of Works is fixing Apapa Road down to the toll gate, just like he said. Now they are now using concrete. So our officials are not docile. Our people should just get to understand what is going on. Now, the other leg is people also moving by barges, the waterways. Unfortunately, the roads that leads to the barging movement points are not constructed for that purpose. Now, the governments are now looking to me. So it's correct saying that we left so many things undone in the past. But now that we are doing it, should we allow the whole thing to shake up and not introduce a short-term solution? So it's perfectly correct to the extent that there is a need for infrastructure. But he also needs to understand those issues are now being addressed.
I'm particularly concerned about your team's relationship with the media. So you told me earlier that it's not even task force, that it's a team. So there's a lot of information online that do not tally with your position seated here. It was reported somewhere that you narrowly escaped death on that road and that some officials of Last Man, all the rest, about 4 people died in the course of that operation. Is that also some sort of fake news?
It's not fake news. That's what I told you. There was an interview granted to NAN, and they picked snippets out of that interview. Now, on the issue of relationship with media, the executive presidential order said task force. So they are not wrong to say task force. While we kept on reminding it's a tax savings, we believe this should be the last of such kind of intervention. Just like Mr. Pico said, this should be the last. And it's a tax team to go and solve a problem, not to force thing or not. It's just a matter of polemics and semantics, just to give it a name that will resonate. You know, the previous ones are military-based. We say it's a team of civil groups and the police to enforce the traffic management direction. Now, on the issue of
let me hold you shortly before you move to, because I would love you to share what appears to be a harrowing experience, during your operation in that axis of Lagos. Good morning, Yakobo.
Yeah, good morning, Nathan. And good morning to Honorable Pepper.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, with due respect to last caller, I really share his opinion as well. But he says that we keep on talking about infrastructure every time. Yes, we. One thing is this. For the last decade, the past administration and the one before him have neglected infrastructure in this country. Nifemi, yes, the gridlock in Apapa still remains, but it is not like before. I can testify to that. And then if you come down to Agege, I'm very sure the Honorable Kweba is an Agege person. If you come to Agege here, especially towards Ashade place, you will see the kind of work that is going on if they are talking about rail infrastructure. They are working tirelessly there. Assuming that the previous government, I mean PDP government, I'm sorry to say that, for the past 16 years they are controlling this control of our affairs in this country. I think they invest in infrastructure. I think today we'll be talking another thing. Let me give you another typical question. We are talking about infrastructure maybe by road, and then we are talking about infrastructure doing for electricity. I think they invest so much in those infrastructure. I think this present government will focus on another thing, but they neglect everything. Yes, this government borrow money, but the question is this: what are they borrowing money for? Those are the things they are borrowing that money for. And then I think if we can be able to give them the benefit of doubt, I think by 2022, 2023, before the President Muhammadu Buhari hand over government to another person, I think we will go far. And then the Gridlock they are talking about Apapa, by that time, I don't have that doubt in my mind that we will not talk about it again, because the kind of movement the rail will be moving our load from Apapa down to everywhere in this country, the trailer will don't even have to go down to Apapa anymore. Because if those trains, the infrastructure about the train finish, Nifemi, all of us, we are going to be a benefit of that. And then, but they should not forget also about the infrastructure going from Lagos to Abeokuta. Yes, they are doing the Ibadan expressway, but Abeokuta, we are still remaining the way it is. Please, the federal government should focus on that road as well. Thank you and God bless you.
All right, thank you for your contribution. So a few things that we have learnt in this interview would be that indeed the task team as inaugurated by the president in May last year, according to the vice chairman that we have here, seem to says it has fulfilled its mandate of clearing that part of Lagos. Now, we also know that there's still a long-term plan to revamp that particular axis vis-a-vis some of the conversations we've had earlier. Let's take a break, and when we return, Mr. Okwefa will be sharing with us how we narrowly escaped death on the Apapa Road. Vice Chairman, Presidential Task Force on the Restoration of Law and Order on the Apapa Road is here with us on the show this morning, and we're talking about how much work has been done and what Lagosians and indeed Nigerians can expect in that light. Thank you for staying the course on the program. You want to quickly react to the last caller? Yeah,
let me say this, that he said it right. I didn't want to make those statements because I don't want to look like I'm looking at the past. Like I keep telling the stakeholders I want to forget about the past. Let's keep moving. I was fortunate to be in government as Commissioner for Transportation in Lagos in 2011 when Apapa was declared the disaster zone by the Lagos State government. And I'm aware of a federal government, Lagos State government resolution plan. It's about 30-point issues. Then you have Mr. Fashola as the governor of Lagos, and coincidentally became Minister for Works and the rest. And one of those issues is that Lagos State government should fix some roads. Believe me, they fix the roads. They should address the issue of drainage at Marine Beach and rest. Believe me, they did that. They should restore aesthetic. They did that. Federal government was to build Wharf Road, Creek Road, Liverpool Road, and Abeokuta Express Road. Do you know what happened? From 11 to 2:15, nothing was done. And this government came in and through relationship with the Dangote Group, fixed Wharf Road. Through tax credit or whatever form, is fixing the remaining 4 roads. So if those roads were fixed at that time, and MPA had introduced the electronic system at that time, and the railway had moved into that contract that the current Minister for Transportation is pursuing to, was a contract done, I believe, during Obasanjo's time, but abandoned. If those things were done, we wouldn't be talking, we will be talking, so maybe we're talking about the overpass and the underground. And the Lagos State government is now thinking of something much more enduring. So it's true, as he said it. But the fact of the matter is, ours is a short-term intervention to restore law and order, so that all these other things, like the road construction, could have grounded the whole of Apapa, but to make sure it doesn't ground Apapa. If you go to Creek Road now, it's tough for the tankers, it's tough for the trucks getting to Tinkan from work. But we have to manage the situation. So these are the consequences of what you have to go to when you have to do development in the fixed environment. So I want the public to keep understanding. Ours is a short-term intervention. And when we say we have fulfilled our mandate, is that we have fulfilled our mandate, but we need to sustain it. So we are still there. The government said we should still remain there to sustain it until the stakeholders are able to leverage and take ownership. And to that effect, there is a stakeholder meeting coming up next week where we're going to give a report, and each one will be assigned, we will all agree on what each one needs to do to sustain, so that we don't see gridlock, but occasionally we will see congestion.
The order to clear the Apapa gridlock, no doubt, is an Herculean task. You want to share some of the harrowing experiences you had with us?
I wish this can be, like said in the Bible.
So that this cup can pass over you.
But let that will be done. So I'm going by your will now.
All right.
You see, the situation is so bad. People were dying daily, but not reported. Before we came, we were told sometimes it's an average of 1 person a day, because some don't die because of accident. They just die from blood pressure. They die from exhaustion. Some die by crushing. So many things. Robbery. Even after we came, a lot of people are no more my friends because they keep reporting to me they are robbed, and I will tell them, "What do you want me to do? We are doing our best. So need to go because I don't want to let out what we are doing." Those issues have gone down, but we have our own share of the RN experience, which in order to respect the people that are affected, one should just keep it. But I cannot deny, especially my own. There was a day along Flower Mills Junction, a truck just came out from nowhere, crushed the entire side of my car, the driver's side, and we tried to talk it out, immobilize people to attack us. And coincidentally and luckily for me that day, there was somebody in my vehicle from the presidency because the vice president was coming the next day. So we were on a recce, and he was a policeman. I didn't even know he had ammunition in his head. So the trucker was asked to drive the trucks to, everybody should move. He said he won't leave the road. And we tried to tow his vehicle. He refused to tow it. We now said arrested. And we put a last man guy and a policeman in his vehicle to take him to Empire. Do you know where he took them away? He drove away. And this police officer pursued him with a motorcycle, the RRS motorcycle with us, and got this guy apprehended. And this guy was not wearing any shirts. You know, these are the kind of characters we have on this road. So you can imagine it happened to me. And just yesterday, I saw another guy's car being smashed by another truck at Ejora, Olopa. There's so many things. And people are also being robbed on the bridge at Maitu. All these it's not as if they will all go overnight, but these are things that we have brought under. That's why I said the word is restoration of law and order. You've had, somebody told me, a construction worker told me he was once on an Okada, and he saw right in his front how the Okada rider and the passenger were killed by a truck.
Let me hold you shortly to take Mudashiru's call from Ikorodu. Good morning, Mudashiru. Thank you for staying tuned. Oh, I'm afraid we lost that. Keep your calls coming. We're trying to cut them short a little so that we can have your questions as well. What has been the impact, really, of the closed land borders on congestions at the port?
Thank you. Why we thought we were having a nice time, July, August, September, October, by the time we got to November, we saw a surge in the truckers again. And what happened? After the border closure, I think there was a redirection of so many of those ships back to Lagos, and we were informed that the port had reached 121% capacity by the regulators there, and that we should expect a lot of issues in December. But we all met. We met at the level of presidency, all the stakeholders met to make sure we mitigate again. But whatever we do, there is going to be issues to be addressed. And that's why a lot of issues were seen around December. The port has a lot of cargo now. A lot of ships are parting, some are on the waiting list, and the federal government is doing everything possible. We still met on Friday with one of the terminal operators, that is the executive secretary of the Shippers Council. He met with the CG Customs, he's met with so many people, trying to, but seriously speaking, it has affected us. We are seeing a lot of pressure now. People want to move their goods. If they don't move it too early, they will pay storage fee or something like that. If they want to return their container, they can't find a space to. So the port is about space. So when the space is congested inside the port, there is little the port can take. And that is our job to manage. And so that's why we get all the bashing. That I'm on the road, I need to move something from the port. It's taking me 5 days, 6 days. We can't allow you to go until you get a call up that the port is ready. So there are 1,001 people like that. There are over 3,000 TDOs. That is the authority to come and pick your stuff. But the port cannot attend to not more than a certain number.
Let's take Okorafo's call from Arochukwu in Abia State. Good morning, Okorafo.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, our guests in the studio.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. You see, what does it take Nigerian government to be pushing some ships to Calabar Seaport, Port Harcourt Seaport, June? We know how we, as a country like us, we waste resources because of sentiment. Now, this Port Harcourt and Calabar Seaport, all the facilities are there. Not that they said this. That is it. So, I was there over doing this in the television. I said, what is happening? Now, look at the type of employment government could have created within this. We are talking about to create that the federal government want to create 2 million employment. There are opportunities there to make this seaport work. Now, the Lagos, now, you know how the people there are suffering. Look, there is something we don't understand, because when people talk, they say that that one are just talk and go. You know, some of these things are being seen at the high, at the they pay, and the carbon. We're talking about the climate change. The carbon being produced by all those things is affecting human beings in that environment. But we don't know because the long-term effect is what we don't know. But we're now looking at the immediate opportunity that an individuals or people, group of people that will benefit them. But at the long time, it's our own children that will be suffering it. But we don't know. Now, at the high time the government makes Calabar Seaport functional, Port Harcourt Seaport functional, it will help reduce that thing. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Thank you for your contribution. The alternative of exploring the other ports, are they deep water ports?
When I started, I said, I don't want to talk about past discussions. These are some of the past discussions. Government has gone beyond that level. There is a Lekki deep sea port in development. There is the Badagry deep sea port. There is the Calabar deep sea ports. All these are going on. These are infrastructure. They don't come just like that. And they are public-private kind of engagement. So we have to make sure we do the right thing, not to get into the P and ID kind of situation. That is one. Two, the One, Calabar, Ogara, and all that, they are functioning. There is prosperity in terms of the sea economy. A lot of goods are coming in, and a lot of goods are going out. So these seaports too have a lot. But however, the kind of ships that are that are operating in the world now are bigger. So it's not all ships that can go to Calabar or without expansion. And NPA, to what I know, and the Federal Ministry of Transport is doing a lot of work there. So because I'm not here to present those, because I don't have all the facts, but I know because I'm in that sector, that a lot of work is going on, dredging the One seaports, dredging the Calabar seaports, and they're also seeing increased port activity. So people should not just assume that every import in Nigeria, but I agree with him. There must be some level of, push, like what the custom did with the border. They just closed. That was an ingenious thing to do. It may not look economic or diplomatically reasonable, but they've done it. Put some stop to these things going on at the border so that we can get a settled reset. So I also understand it was done some times ago where some kinds of cargo were directed. I am privy to know that the MPA, Port Management, and the Ministry of Transport, there is also a lot of dry ports being developed. The Kaduna one was commissioned, I think, 2018 or so. And I know there's one coming up in Ibadan, and there is one coming up in Niger State. So there are a lot of things. These are things that we ought to have done in the past, but which people should not have the impression that the people at the port management just sit there and push it. No.
All right.
These are things that will come if you have infrastructure deficit. And this government, the current federal government, is addressing it. And also the current state government, the River State, Cross River State government is working on it. Deep sea port, the Lagos State government is in partnership with some private investors on 2 deep sea ports. And there are also so many inland dry ports that are going on. So people should be
Let's turn back quickly to the phone lines. Alaja Dadas called in from Amuwa Odofin. Good morning.
Yeah, they have a lot of issues there.
Good morning, Sani Femi.
You're welcome. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Oga Kwefa.
Good morning, ma. Happy New Year.
Want to give kudos to the present government in terms of finding solutions to the present situation on transportation, especially in Lagos State. I've been listening to what you've been saying, and you mentioned that NNPC can pump to Ibadan and Ilorin. So all these trucks coming to Lagos, can they stop there to, load their tankers instead of coming down to Lagos here to the store? And there's other things that are coming up that were not there before. That is the way to Badagry Expressway, Abule Ado. They just become nuisances, there. I think you should please shift your job to that area so that, there can be sanity in that area. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for your contribution. You quickly want to react to that.
Thank you, man. On the issue of Amuwa, they're really suffering there. And I think, unfortunately, we decided not to go deep into their neighborhood. They are one of those people who complain that some of those tankers come to hide. Now, the truth of the matter is this. most of the land, a lot of the residential, let's say some, don't let me say a lot, are meant to be bonded terminals to serve the port. But we have converted them to residential estates. And some of them still exist. So those who have them as bonded terminal will still want to pull. And the road infrastructure cannot sustain. I remember as a commissioner for transport, we have to go and clean Alakoso in the midnight. And it was a fierce battle. They faced us with ammunitions, those operating there. But the good news is that we're improving. As soon as that express road is completely constructed, I think they will have a lot of respite. And the Lagos State government is also working on improving on the Bola Tinubu trailer park to increase its capacity from, it used to be like 500, it went to like 300, to increase it to like 2,000 to 3,000. And I'm also aware that NNPC is working with the Lagos State government and Ogun State government to build more trailer parks outside Lagos. And with those few ones we have identified, there should be some level of respite. But in the Abule Ado area is the tank farms. They were just springing up like, initially the thinking is that it has been stopped, but for one reason or the other, there are a lot of tank farms. On the issue of pumping fuel, now yes, NNPC is pumping fuel, but people also vandalize the pipeline. So the ones that you see, Lagos takes about close to 50% of the entire daily consumption in Lagos and Abuja. So you will still see the tankers
so that
meant
tells
for Lagos
the traffic
to
is.
come to Lagos.
Olariwaju is called in. Good morning, Olariwaju.
Thank you very much, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Go ahead.
I would like to address something immediately. You see, when these people do something, the government or whoever it is their duty to do it. I don't know, maybe you get what I'm trying to say now. We don't need to sing sorts of praising over that. And it should not be something to be celebrated. I agree with the speaker who says we should forget about the past and move forward. But having said that, before now, as in before today, these things are not there. The tankers, the tank farms there, some people, approve those things. Before you approve those things, in other countries, other parts of the world, people plan for expansion. What are the measures have they put in place before they approve all those things? Most of those things we have around that area are not there before. Are you getting it now? Is it possible for them now, those tankers, those tank farms there, can they relocate them to decongest those areas? What they have said so far so good, as far as I'm concerned, in my own opinion, it's not as if they've expanded the road, it's not as if they've done anything. It's what is did there is they have, try to approve of or to improve on. Is there any measure? Is there any possibility of relocating those tank farms to decongest the pressure coming to that area?
All right, Olariwaju, I think you made your point there. So there are talks about the fact that many areas in Apapa used to belong to Nigerian Port Authority in the past, but that the fact that privatization has now, encroached into those things. How relevant is this to what he's talking about?
In 2006 or 7, there was privatization of port activities, which Nigerians today will keep telling us that that's the way to go. So at times people blame Nigerian Port Authority for many of these things, forgetting that the Nigerian Port Authority is not the one running the day-to-day. It is the terminal operators and the rest. And it is true that some of the properties, but those that are necessary to be taken back had been taken back. And one of them is the Lily Pond Transit Park. It was also concession to one of the, and the NPA has taken it back, and people are using it free of charge. So anyone that might be necessary to be taken back, I believe, has been taken back. I think we should, and that's why I keep saying, look, privatization has come and gone. We have to live with the reality of the situation. All we need to do is to get the terminal operators who are now operating the port to do much more, as requested of them by the government and NPA.
Let's take our last caller. Ola's called in from Mushin. Good morning, Ola.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, presenter.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Okwefa.
Good morning.
Yeah, actually, I would say I would appreciate the present government. They are really trying, actually. Well, what the last caller said is their duty. Like, they have been elected should just do those things they are doing. Fine, we are not living in the past. We have to use the past to reconstruct the present in order to move ahead for the future. This thing is, Lagos is being, as in, let's say, overrated. This place is congested. We are trying to decongest it. Somebody made mention of the Calabar, Port Harcourt. Those ports are not being congested like Lagos.
All right.
Some people have personal interest in this Lagos. Some things should be moved to this other port.
I'm afraid that's how much
like
time
this,
that we can have to take from you. We have to go now. But what's this thing we're hearing about? Allegations of extortion, fueling disorderliness and lawlessness by truck drivers. So we're told that transporters are asking some people to pay as much as 150,000 naira as bribe.
Thank you very much. One of our mandates is to remove the prospect of extortion. And the instrument we use is the Lily Pond Terminal made available by the Port Authority. And that really worked well. And the Tinkan Transit Park provided by the Federal Ministry of Works. They really helped. And another thing that is helping that is the ongoing road construction. However, after we have run this thing for some time, like 3-4 months, and people saw that everything was fine, they went and attacked the Lily Pond Transit. We call them the corruption fightbacks. They went and attacked the Lily Pond Transit Park. They burnt the gatehouse. They burnt some cars belonging to the port authorities inside the park, and they started making grounds in the media that if you can pay, you find your way in. It was a media hype, and they made a lot of success from it, knowing that December was coming around. So I also got information from one of the shipping companies that showed me his payment request from where he's always been asked to pay 80,000 naira, claiming they will pay to police and the rest. I also met with somebody yesterday, a trucker from the Tinkan Axis, who also alleged some people have been asked to pay by the transporters. And the question I always ask is, we've also heard this from the freight forwarders group, and we said, bring facts and tell your members not to pay because they don't need to pay. You know what they're paying for? If at all they pay to move us. People who have been doing this before, and they felt they can't just find another job to do. So they come to you, I can help you move your truck. You know, it's tough now to move. You can't get to the point if you don't have a call-up. An MPA will not give you a call-up if there is no space. Let's say there are 1,000 cargoes to pick. You know, the port is already congested. And only 200 can get out. So they come to you that we can make your own to be part of the 200 call-up. And if you don't make the call-up, we can also make your way to pass through and you get to. So there is a scam going on, and we need to allow the public. You don't need to pay anybody. Nobody is paying our team. Nobody is paying our police. All you need to do, abide by the rules set by MPA. When your terminal operator tells you your cargo is ready, send your document to MPA, collect your call-up, and you'll pass. And you don't need to pay.
I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap it there. There's a lot to talk about, but I must thank you for
And we need to tell the public to be scary about those transporters asking them for money.
Well, now,
it's a scam.
Absolutely. Now we know that you would prefer to call your team a task team and not task force, and that your operation is still very valid and ongoing. You have not handed over to the Lagos State government. Kayode Opefa is chairman, presidential task team, restoring law and order
Thank you
in
very
Apapa.
much.
Glad to have you come. That's our show for today. We'll be back tomorrow, Friday. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.